It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
A Trevor Plouffe Tuesday edition of the SKOR North Twins Show. All right, we do this once in a while with Coach Trev. It's time for a Twins vibe check here. You can find Trevor Plouffe all over. By the way, you guys, real quick, before we do vibe check, you guys just announced a huge deal, right? You're putting the warehouse games on the Bally's network.
Yeah, we
Look at
are.
you guys, man.
It's really funny. Maybe I shouldn't say this on air, but yeah, we're putting our games on. So it's like blitzball, some floorball stuff that we do. It's awesome. I can't believe that this has happened. But it debuted this Sunday, and I had some people over for a barbecue. And we're like, hey, let's turn Bally's on. Let's check out the game. I don't even have Bally's, so I thought I did.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, I think a lot of Minnesotans can relate to that. But no, it's awesome. It just. What a crazy idea it was. It took me a while to buy into it when Jimmy or John Boy kind of came up with it. He's like, this is something I want to do, and it's going to be big, and the production value is insane. Hopefully one day you guys get to come there and check it out. It's really cool. It's a special place. It really it's special.
So yeah, how big is the warehouse? And what was the process for buying the warehouse or leasing the warehouse?
It's a decent size. I think it was like an old carpet factory. So, we built it up. We've put in like a podcast studio. We put in like a lunchroom. We're trying to build some locker rooms in there. But the warehouse itself is just this big, exactly what you think about it. Almost like a hangar type of situation. And we redid the floors and we put stadium seating in it. Like we've done a lot to it. If you go back to the first Blitzball Battle 1, which was probably 2021 or something like that. It's just progressively gotten better and better, and the production value as well. And now we have like a legit, Chris Rose has worked a lot of, studio jobs. He's like, this is just as good, if not better, like equipment. And we have it all at the warehouse. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love how Kelsey does the sideline reporting sometimes. It's you guys have turned it into this awesome, legitimate production. I always wondered too, because I used to love the first thing I ever searched on YouTube in 2007 at the early days of the YouTube was how to throw wiffle balls, like breaking balls, so sliders and risers and all these type of pitches. But the blitz ball is a completely different game. I have no idea how to throw that for all types of breaking balls and off-speed stuff.
It takes a while to get used to, but it's fun, man. And the competition level, we've kind of figured that whole thing out with making sure the teams are even, and it's awesome. I'm very proud of the deal, and I'm just proud of where we're going.
Yeah. And if you can find Bally's, you can find the warehouse games. John Boy Media. Okay, Twins vibes are blank. Fill in the blank right now.
I mean, they gotta be high, right? They're high as can be. I mean, they just came from Seattle, so maybe for a couple different reasons they're high as can be. I was just looking this up. Last 20 games. So I believe there was a 5-game skid there, New York, Pittsburgh. Last 20 games, 14-6. And all 6 losses have been by 1 run.
Wow.
It doesn't get better than that. The offense has really come to life, which I believe, takes a lot of pressure off the pitching staff and everything. Having Byron Buxton doing what he's doing, towards the end of the lineup, it just looks like the lineup is really long and there's depth there. So it's high. It's high as can be right now.
Yeah, I said contendery. They have contendery vibes right now. I feel like.
Yes, it's put them in a position where we have to expect them to promote internally and also make some moves. It's put them in that position where if they don't, they're gonna lose the fan base if they don't make some moves.
I love this
at the deadline.
So I believe it's July 30th is the deadline this year. All right. So right now, if you were in Falvey's shoes, what would you be looking at? And are there any names that you can throw out that you think would be a realistic good fit here?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot here. For a long time, you were talking about corner infield or first base or corner outfielders, but that's kind of first base is kind of spoken for right now. I mean, Santana, Miranda, they've been doing exactly what you need. So I think realistically, like the offense has been, I have it up right now. Right now, they're the 8th best OPS in all of baseball. They're hitting home runs, they're scoring runs. They've been one of the best offenses in baseball since like the middle of April. So like you could always add a bench bat and continue to look for depth. But I think they might do that from promoting, a guy like Brooks Lee or whatever it may be to add to the depth there. So I think really you got to look at the starting pitching. Like that's, to me, where the biggest need for depth probably would be. I think the bullpen's okay. You can always throw an extra guy in there if you need to, but I would look realistically at the starting pitching options. The only problem with that is there's not a lot out there. And the guys that are out there, the Flahertys, the Crochets, they're going to cost a lot. So I think those guys are probably not going to happen. So they might need to get creative and go and look for maybe like a younger guy that has a bunch of years of control. You're going to have have better prospects for that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting market. There's so many teams still in contention, and a lot of teams are deciding whether they want to be buyers or sellers. And I don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to be a difficult trade deadline, I think, to be a buyer in. But they got to find a way. So yeah, I guess I don't even have like a really good name to give you as far as like a starter, because I don't think they're going to go after Flaherty. I don't think they're going to go after Crochet. So they're going to have to get creative.
Yeah, I feel like Crochet is off the board. I mean, I think I saw a stat today. The top 3 WAR leaders among starting pitchers are all AL Central guys. So like Seth Lugo's having an insane year after being a really good reliever, now converted into a starter. Jack's having a really good year. Crochet, they get Skubal tonight, who's probably, in my opinion, the most underappreciated pitcher. He's
incredible,
baseball. Yeah. Twins will have their hands full on Tuesday night with him. But I mean, so if Jack Flaherty's a rental, like he signed a 1-year, $14 million deal. The Twins are probably going to be in a position where they won't be giving up Brooks Lee, Walker Jenkins. Like those are untouchable prospects. At least that's how I look at it. So are you okay with, number one, paying maybe an in-division tax because you are doing a deal with a team in your division, but are you okay with maybe giving up your 5th prospect, or are other teams going to are other teams going to give up like their 3rd or 4th guy? Because I would give up a 5th prospect right now. I think that's Marco Raya on the Twins list, but I would give up a 5th overall prospect, I think, for Jack Flaherty. A playoff rotation of Pablo, Joe, and Jack would be a great place to start, in my opinion, if the Twins were to start the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, I would, but I don't think that's going to be the price tag. I think it's going to be higher. So, when it gets to that point, then you have to really think about, where your team is at and how much better is this guy going to make your rotation. Like Kikuchi might be a guy that they look at, and how much of an upgrade is he going to be? Like, I don't know. Like, he's a veteran guy. Like, you can kind of rely on him down the stretch. So I think it's those two. I think the dominoes will start to fall if the Blue Jays decide to sell, if the Cubs decide to sell. Like Jameson Taillon's a guy that, like, he's got a couple of years left on his contract. What would he cost? What would you like him on the roster? Would he upgrade it enough? I mean, so I think once these teams start to decide, we're not, this isn't really our year, then you could start to make some moves. But it's too early to say now, which is crazy because it's still, like you mentioned, I mean, it's not still, it's only 3 weeks away, basically, when everyone's going to be making these trades. I just think the market is going to be such a seller's market.
Do you just it's every year is a little bit different, but the expansion of the playoffs has made more teams feel like they have a chance and has sort of changed the trade deadline. Now that you've seen a few years of this play out, where do you stand on expansion of playoffs and sort of the effect at the trade deadline?
I like it. Because I try to look at it now from a fan's perspective as much as possible, because that's what it's about. We got to keep people entertained, and because you have this extra, playoff spot, there's more and more teams in contention every single year. Now, from a player's standpoint, you could say, well, that just makes teams want to be middle of the road. Let's win 85 games instead of going and pushing to be the best roster we can be. So a lot of guys don't like that aspect of it. They don't like the layoff that you get if you're a 1 or a 2 seed. So, I mean, there's that. But I think by and large, I'm a fan of it because it does keep fan bases engaged throughout throughout all of September. And you can say, oh, it kind of dumbs down the season a little bit. I actually think the opposite. I think it might dumb down the beginning part of the season, but as we get into August and we get into September and you're looking at the wild card standings, I think people become more and more engaged because, hey, like we got a chance here. We're 2 games out. We're 3 games out. So I think it's been a good thing for baseball.
It's crazy because like in the National League right now, there's only 2 teams that would probably consider themselves completely out of it, right? The Rockies and the Marlins.
Yes.
Because and I'm sure the Cubs aren't sitting there planning on a playoff series, but they're 5 games back, and they are the 3rd worst record in the National League right now. So, like, literally the entire National League is sitting here on July 2nd thinking, okay, just a couple good series, and we can make a run at this thing.
I think there's a case to be made that the next move that would make sense, pushing the deadline back.
People have said that.
To allow teams to sort this out because...
August, like to end of August, like the previous... the waiver deadline that used to be... Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the waiver.
Yeah, why
deadline.
not? Like, what do you have to lose by pushing it back? Because what's the difference? If it's August 30th, I guess it's more exciting. Maybe teams are more likely to make a move. I have to think more about that, I guess.
I guess I haven't really thought about it. I think it's just because it's always been in July, and I know they moved it back a little bit.
In the 80s, it was in June.
That's crazy.
When the Cubs
also, it's kind of fun too. That's like so early.
It was nuts. It was like June 14th. When Cleveland traded Sutcliffe to the Cubs in '84, and I think he went 16-1 as a Cub. That was a deadline deal. Unlike June
April
14th.
20th. Decide right now. Are you in or out?
Who put you in June? Hey, just decide after about 13 games. Where are you going?
You know, actually, I feel like this opens a broader discussion. We've teased Trevor having ideas to change Major League Baseball a few times on the show, but we are right now in the middle of the NBA free agent season. So the NFL is the same way, where if you took every asset that the NFL has, every asset that the NBA has, like regular season games, finals, Super Bowl, everything, the off-season free agency week for both sports would be like the second or third or maybe most entertaining thing because it just gets speculation and fans and everything. And because baseball has no structure, there's no salary cap, there's no max contracts, there's nothing to force action in the offseason. Is there a way to make baseball more entertaining in the offseason, like this week in the NBA and like, the second week in March for the NFL, Trevor?
Would it be more entertaining? Yeah. Like we have... Isn't that what the NBA does? There's just a certain amount of time. Here's the start date, here's the end date to sign guys. Is that what they do?
It's funny because not really. The structure for the NBA is they have a salary cap. It's a soft cap, so you can like go over the cap. But the best players have caps on their contracts. So like if you're Kevin Durant, unlike Bryce Harper, who could sit there. Bryce Harper sat there for 5 months with Scott Boras. Yep. Haggling over 13 years or 10 years or 500 million or 400 million. There's no parameters. I think I deserve this. And the front office says, well, we think you deserve this. In the NBA, there's a supermax contract.
Yep.
And if you're one of the best players in the world, here's what your contract is going to be. And so there's the only real thing to figure out is like, where do you want to live? And who do you want your teammates to be? And because there's no structure in baseball, it just lingers on until the third week in spring training every year.
Yeah, I don't think that's good for the sport. It lingers on that long, and we've seen some of the ill effects of that this year with like a Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery. These guys just haven't hit their stride yet because they haven't had a spring training. I know the Players Association is so against putting a time limit on it, and definitely they don't want a cap, which we're coming to a point now where there's starting to be more talks about like, well, maybe we should implement some of these things. Maybe we should, force the hand of teams to, let's have a signing period, because there was, I believe, before the lockout that we had, there was like a flurry of signings. I think Corey Seager got in there, and there was kind of like a flurry of signings before this lockout. They wanted to get things done. The Players Association will always point to, well, teams will be able to hold guys hostage and wait till the last minute to make them sign contracts they don't want to sign. They always want to leave that ability to, do your own negotiating at your own pace. So like that, they'll just like never give that up. Would it be better for fans in the sport? I don't know. I don't know if it'll translate into baseball, and will these owners take advantage of it? Like,
it'd be fun to have
a week, probably.
Yeah, it'd just be fun to have a week or two where, like in the NFL, it's it's a lot of casual fans, and there's 53 guys on every team, so you don't really know who the left guard is, even on the team that you follow. But for that 1 week, everybody's looking at rankings and lists, and what if we can sign this slot nickel cornerback that I just heard of yesterday? In baseball, I don't know, man. Like if baseball had 1 or 2 weeks of a flurry, like the NBA right now, there's Timberwolves fans going through lists of bargain basement free agents. Like, can we get Joe Ingles to come shoot some 3-pointers? Haven't heard of that guy in 5 years. And I don't know, baseball just doesn't have that.
I guess my question would be like, what happens to the guys that don't sign? They can't get a deal done. Are they just out for the next year, or is there a period?
Deals. They eventually, but I mean they're signed outside of this flurry of activity. See, the problem, in my opinion, is baseball. The winter used to be the greatest, right? The hot stove,
the winter meetings,
and you'd get all these crazy ass trades, and you get signings, and now it's easily the worst. Like nothing happens. And I'm with you. The one thing that if I was a player would frustrate me is this whole thing now of going into spring training with marquee guys not signed.
Yes.
Like that's where I'd look back at my union and be like, okay, I get what you want for us, but now, if I recall, the Bryce Harper announcement came during spring training on the Phillies dugout in Florida.
I was there. I think I had already done playing that day. I was taking my clothes off in a locker room, and one of the reporters happened to be in there. Was like, "We just got Bryce Harper." I was like, "What?" And didn't make the team that year, by the way, but I was there for that. Yeah,
you would have though. He took your roster spot, Bryce Harper.
It's Chapman and now Harper. These
guys.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. I think we're getting to a point now where everybody has to start thinking differently about the way the sport's going. We're getting these huge contracts for the 1%ers. The middle class of free agents is essentially dead in baseball. So it's like you have these prospects, the young guys who are making league minimum, and then the superstars. And that's been a talk, amongst players for, a long time. And it's how do you fix that? How do you get the guys that are, made it to free agency but aren't superstars but are very serviceable baseball players? How do you get them to continue to be involved in the game? And that was like one of the reasons I stopped playing baseball. I was like, okay, I'm this guy. I have a track record. It's okay. I'm like, a slightly above average guy, but teams are like, well, we could just get 2 guys, platoon them, and they'll make up for Plouffe. And, he's costs way more than them. That's the way they think. So like you have, like I said, like you have the guys making league minimum and then the big deals, and the pitchers are kind of a different breed. But as far as position players, by and large, the middle class is like gone.
It feels like the qualifying offer too has become such a big thing where, and this happened, I think the first time I really think it really started rearing its ugly head or becoming percolating over the last few years was in 2019 when like Dallas Keuchel and I think it was Craig Kimbrell, they didn't sign till like after June 1st because then the compensatory thing went away. And now there's also certain rules where if you're a revenue sharing team, you get this slot, and if you're not, you get this slot. I understand what they're trying to do of like, hey, if a middle market or smaller market team's losing a marquee free agent, they should be able to supplement that with a 50th overall prospect in the draft. But it also just makes things way more complicated than it needs to be. Like, I don't know if I wouldn't be opposed of getting rid of that, but there has to be some type of thing because now teams are valuing the 50th overall draft pick instead of signing a free agent that could make you better right now.
It's all that stuff though is just like a ruse by the owners. Because and this is, I know I'm, a player and I have my bias, whatever it is, but I've listened enough and seen enough baseball. The competitive balance tax is ridiculous. That was supposed to make sure that, the big teams couldn't spend enough. And then it was more parity in baseball, but that's just, it's a cap. It's a cap. You can call it what you want, a soft cap, whatever. It's a cap. Teams will say, we're not going to go over this because we don't want to get taxed on our, dollar for dollar, whatever it is. Like they put that in. The comp picks is the same way. Now we can point to free agents. Oh, he's got a comp pick on him, so we can't pay him, the money we want to pay because we don't want to lose this. And it's like all these things they put in that are supposed to create parity in the game, and they sell it that way big time. Hey guys, this is going to create more teams are going to be able to compete with this. It's all to lower the cost on players. It's been that way, and like they think they're slick with it, and maybe they're slick enough because they've gotten it all passed through.
Because here we are, yeah.
Right.
But I'm on to you guys.
Right.
A little too late.
It's you got to think too, like with the local TV mess across 3/4 of baseball. At some point, does baseball do sort of what the MLS did and kind of cobble together all of, or it'll never be all of, because there's going to be the Yes Network and some of these bigger networks that stick. But like, are there 20 or 24 teams that would band together and take that entire product, and now that money gets spread? I just wonder if we're headed toward a more like nationwide business model compared to the last 40 or 50 years, and maybe that unlocks some sort of salary cap or something. It
seems like that's going to happen. If that does happen, then I think each team will probably end up receiving a lot less money than they were used to from these regional sports networks. That's kind of like what I've gathered from what I've read about what would happen if we did that. So it's an interesting time in baseball for sure.
I don't know that teams want to or will share that. That's why they pursue the players' assets to come after them. To backtrack on something that you said at the top of the show about the Twins, though. So what do you think as far as like the pressure to make a move? Because I mean, this team's good, but PR-wise, it's been a tough year with the TV thing and just a bunch of things, with coming out months ago and saying we're not going to spend as much. What do you think the pressure is on this team from that standpoint, Trevor, to make some type of move at the deadline, to say to acknowledge the fans, but also say, hey, this team is competitive, therefore we will spend X, Y, and Z instead of backing off again?
I think there is pressure there, and I know ticket sales and concessions are only a fraction of what a team makes during the year, but the attendance hasn't been great for the Twins. And I know it's supposed to tick up as the summer months go on, but if you want to bring people to the ballpark, if you want to show your team on TV, which, they really can't right now, but if you want to show your team on TV with a packed house,
it'd be nice if they could.
If you want to show your team with a packed house, and you got to reward, you got to make it a reason for them to come out. The team's playing better, so that's going to help for sure. But if they go out and make a trade to signal to the fan base, hey, like we're like legit, like we're going to go to the playoffs, we're going to be in contention, to break this spell. I mean, we did it last year. Like we're going to continue to go and push forward in the playoffs. Like you have to make moves. You cannot stand pat. So I think there is pressure there. But again, to be fair to Plouffe and Levine, like it's going to be a difficult market. Like Tyler Anderson, Kikuchi, Eric Fetty, like are these the guys that are going to put you over the top? Like probably not, right? So they're going to have to figure some stuff out and get super creative. They might have to part with some of those big prospects. Like at what point do you cash those in? Like I think it's probably this point.
It'd be interesting, man. I mean, like, do they trade Julian if they feel like Brooks Lee is just going to slide into second base? Do they? Wallner, man. Doogie's reporting that they're getting calls on Wallner. I mean, you have so many corner guys.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. You have corner outfielders at the AAA level, at the big level that you can. I mean, Kirilloff's one of them too. Like this guy's got potential to be an impact bat at the big league level. Those just don't grow on trees. So, when you have a surplus, like you gotta do it.
Yeah. We have a very important dumb baseball question to throw at you here in just a minute. After we shout out Nicolay Law, the exclusive official personal injury law firm of SKOR North Podcast. So Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, put on the IL, life can get complicated. Things can come to a stop, and that's where Russell Nicolay and his team come in here. They're just normal, everyday folks who live in the Twin Cities that happen to have law degrees to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured Get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay, NicolayLaw.com, or 1-855-NICOLAY. And with the Twins coming back here for a holiday homestand, your soda summer continues at Target Field. Tickets are available at twins.com/tickets. 612 Saturdays, $6 beers, $1 snacks, $2 food. Or if you're like Declan and going to a bachelor party suite gathering, you could try the 999 plan on Thursday.
I got a suite on Thursday, Trev, at Target Field for a bachelor party, and I think there's going to be a couple boys trying the 999 challenge.
All right. What's the 999? 9 beers, 9 hot dogs, 9 innings?
Yeah.
What about 9 Zins? Isn't that like a new thing?
I can do that. I can do 9 Zins and 9 innings.
I don't think you could do 9 Zins. I would not do that.
Wait, 9 glasses of wine instead of 9 beers?
I could just replace the
Come
Zin.
on, man. Get with the times, Phil.
That's what that is.
I would put it. You're telling me if I can put a new Zin in every inning, I think I could do that.
Wait, what's a
more
Zin?
than it's a nicotine pouch.
Oh, I'm like, a red Zin?
No.
You're out, bro.
Oh my God.
We were talking about age and time. Like, you're so far.
Passed you by. See, that's why I stayed out of the conversation.
Yeah, John,
I have no idea
either.
what you're talking about, so I kept my mouth shut.
That's twins.com/tickets. Twins.com/tickets.
You're so far gone, bro. My God.
Dumb baseball question. What's a Zin?
I don't do Zins. I'm not really like a nicotine tobacco guy, but that's all the rage
Zins.
now.
Zins
There's no tobacco in it. It's just straight
There's no
nicotine.
tobacco. It's just nicotine and flavoring. That's all it is.
Well, however, Dex needs to make the math work on the 999.
Yeah.
We support responsibly. Okay, dumb baseball question. Do you think the Royals are cheating?
Oh my, what does that mean?
Have you seen this speculation?
No.
So this is all over at least my Twitter algorithm like 2 days ago.
Okay.
And it's like analytical people in the Twitter baseball world. That if you look at the Royals, so home and road, it's like if you're Colorado, it's one thing. If you're like the Metrodome Twins.
Okay.
But when you see like really wide home and away noise, it generally means something's off. So record-wise, the Royals are 30-16 at home, and they're 17-23 on the road. But if you dig deeper, they have the number one gap home and road. OPS, weighted on base average, batting average, strikeout percentage, and swing and miss percentage, and exit velocity differentials. The widest gap in all those categories, home versus away. People are speculating that they're hacking pitch comms. They're doing something. Do you think the Royals, is it just statistical noise, or have the Royals figured out the new trash can system?
Oh my gosh.
You should dig around on this.
Really put me on the spot here. I'm gonna say no, they're not cheating. I could, my guy Bobby Witt Jr. would not do that. Okay. There's no way. He's too pure. He's too pure and beautiful for the sport to be able to be caught up with something like that. I don't.
Batter's eye is so pure in Kansas City that they're seeing the ball.
Yeah, I was just looking because their record in June is not too great, but they did just have a long, like a 10-dayer on the road where they lost a lot of games. Dodgers, Oakland, Texas.
But they took 3 or 4 from Cleveland, right?
They just at home.
Okay. See? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Shoot. You know what, dude? Here, I hate pitch comm. I think it's the dumbest thing to come around in baseball, and I don't know why people love it so much. It's like, what happened to like the gamesman, like the sport, where it's like, okay, if you're an infielder, like you got to look at the signs, you got to peek in there, you got to shift over. Now everyone's got it's telling what pitch. Now people want the umpires to have pitch comm. They think they'll be able to see the pitches better. I'm just like not a fan of it. Like if you can't hide your signs or come up with like a way to hide your signs, like what are we doing? What's the point of pitch comm, and why was it so readily adapted so quickly? I don't understand it at all. We're seeing guys point to it, new battery, whatever it is. I can't stand it. But if you think about it, how hard would it be to hack a pitch comm? Like a guy that went to RIP Radio Shack, but like you could do it in 5 minutes. So would it surprise me if teams ended up doing it at some point?
You're convincing yourself that the Royals might be cheating. This sounds to me.
I don't know.
Like
I'm not saying they're cheating.
Your guy, Witt Jr.
I'm saying if you wanted to,
right,
you could easily do it. Here's the thing. Here's what I think is going to happen, is probably already happening. I'm not saying the Royals are doing this and this is why they're great. I'm saying that probably every team is doing this. I think every team is now putting all the video they have of pitchers and they're putting it in some software program, and they're able to tell when a guy is tipping pitches better than ever and faster than ever and easier than ever. And I hate that aspect of the game as well. Like I want humans to still be doing baseball. I want the human fingers giving the signs. I want humans with their eyeballs checking out a pitcher's tells. I don't want software programs doing this. I think that's really there's no reason for that. Like, come on, man.
What
like,
about
let's keep it a game at some level here.
Are you pro or anti electronic strike zone?
I'm pro challenge.
Yeah,
which is what they're going to have.
Yeah, I'm pro challenge. I don't want a full on robotic system.
It's just funny that like we probably, to your point, probably have the AI technology to put together, you know, hey, here's 1,000 pitches from this pitcher. Is he tipping his breaking ball? And we can send a rover to Mars. But up until like a couple years ago, Rob Manfred's like, it's tough to adjust for the height of a batter with those electronic strike zones. I don't know what's preventing us from.
You could easily do it. There's no doubt about it. I just think that I think that you need to leave some of the human element in the game. It's what makes it compelling. I mean, and I said this a lot on our shows, like how often do we talk about umpires? And for better or worse, like the fans love those interactions. They love a manager going on and yelling at the umpire. It's the biggest cheers you're going to get during a game sometimes is when your manager goes out and gets in an umpire's face. Like, I think that still has to be part of the game. Like that's the beauty of it. We can't get so far gone. Like I'm not saying get rid of all data and analytics. That should be part of the game. But like we need it to be a game played by humans and have human error and all those things, because that's kind of what makes it beautiful.
Yeah. So Trev, what the Astros thing especially sort of brought on this, oh my God, there's cheating, it's rampant. As a player, though, how much did you suspect teams were cheating long before that? Because, I mean, the Astros' form of cheating was not exactly a new wave technology. Like, you could watch that camera, you could go bang a trash can in 1978. How much did you guys privately suspect teams? And, I think it's something that you're not going to out of team, especially if you might have some tells yourself. Like, how much was this going on and the public didn't think about it or really know about it until the Astros thing?
I'll be honest with you. I never thought about it. And maybe that's because the Twins were like the nicest organization in baseball, but we never had anything even close to that.
The Twins didn't even do steroids really in like the 90s. It's
like, Matt Lawton hit 12 home runs. We're like, 12 home runs.
Yeah, Ron Coomer got 15 bombs. It's like, all right, it's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I played in a couple of different organizations. I think I ended up playing in the big leagues for 4 organizations, and I never, and that was all before the Astro stuff came to light. And never once was I introduced to some system or anything that would be considered, in my opinion, cheating. And I prided myself on being able to pick apart a pitcher and to get on the top step and look at him and find something different. I don't think that's cheating. I think that's gamesmanship. That's part of the game.
Yeah. I
wish it was only that. But I never, not once, was introduced to anything like that. So as weird and rudimentary as that system was, I mean, it's a camera pointed to a screen and banging a trash can. It still blows my mind that that's what they went with, banging a trash can. Like, there's so many easier, more subtle things to do than that. But I never once thought about it. And, there was some of the Apple Watch stuff. But again, I was like, what are they? I don't know if that's ever come out. Like, what exactly were the Red Sox and Yankees doing with an Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But to answer your question, I'd never thought about it, never was introduced to it at all. That's completely honest with you.
I saw your former teammate Trevor May said he thinks it should turn off in the bottom of the 9th or just in the 9th inning. The pitch com.
What's that?
Pitch com. There's no more pitch com. That way, there's also, because there was a pitch clock violation, I think that resulted in the end of a game last week.
Walk off.
That you just so in the 9th it goes away.
What, pitch clock or pitch com?
Well, the pitch clock for sure, but maybe there is maybe there is something to do like in the bottom of the ninth or the top of the ninth of an inning to not have something.
They'll
like
never
that
they'll
happen.
never do that because they don't want to go backwards. They like where the game has gone for them, so they'll never ever do it. Pitch comp's so stupid. I don't get it. I don't get
They
why
are
the guys
cheap.
want it.
You're right though. They are cheap. Like if you're gonna use the damn thing, make sure that they all work.
Yeah.
Like once a game, it's like
It's also like you're also like sweating out in July weather and
Zap yourself.
someone's gonna get electrocuted when the game on the line.
It's,
pitcher killed by pitch.
yeah, who knows what radio frequency,
Yeah, dude.
whatever
Oh.
magnetic thing on your brain all the time. I
Brain
don't know.
cancer at
Oh,
like
no.
60.
Oh no, dude! Yeah.
What
I'm wearing
caused
these
it?
AirPods right now. I'm always worried about.
Be careful
that.
with those.
It's
Yeah.
like Philadelphia with the turf. The old turf there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
I don't know why I'm so against PitchCom. I just think it's ridiculous. I don't know.
Hacking into it though. I think that's what the Royals
Doesn't
are doing.
even the center
clearly.
fielder have a PitchCom too?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
How many can there be on the field? I think there can be 5, right?
5.
So the 2 middle infielders, the
Shortstop,
center fielder,
second base,
pitcher
center
catcher.
field, pitcher catcher.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, and I think you can give
Pretty-
it to somebody else if you want. So
Pretty soon
you
everyone
can
will
give
have
yours
one.
up. Oh god,
Yeah, we
yeah.
should get fan. I think the fans should have one too. It'd be great.
Yeah,
You know,
okay,
to
yeah.
See what's
PitchCom giveaway night.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Hey,
A fake pitch
The
com.
Saints,
Minnesota
the Saints
Twins.
need to be on that.
This is a great idea. This is a great
Yeah, I don't
idea.
know.
all right.
There's
I think we
fingers,
just-
man. Just 1, 2,
Yeah.
And now
I
we
think
don't
we
get to
s-
see the finger paint either.
Finger-
Like that was
yeah.
always fun for
Fingernail
me.
polish and
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
tape them up
Yeah.
like with
Yeah,
orange
tape.
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 Yeah.
I love the orange tape. And then guys trying to look back, and so they get hit because pitchers will get pissed. That was my
Be
favorite.
careful
Love
with
it.
that. We just solved a lot of baseball's problems here. I feel like.
We
All
also
over.
complicated our mortality before the show, so that was good for me. Thank you. I'll think about that the rest of the day.
Yeah. And enjoy some red wine or nicotine packets, whatever kind of zing you're into.
I don't think I have any up here.
This is the SKOR North Twins Show. Trevor Plouffe Tuesday. See you guys.